Zion Branch and his brother Zachariah Branch have committed to transfer to Georgia. We got to talk about what this means for Georgia, what this means for the SEC, and why I think this is a home run pickup for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss any of the segments that we upload here, instantly reacting to news and really talking about college football down and dirty in the weeds. I want to start by acknowledging Kirby Smart lost his father, Sonny. Complications from hip surgery. I can't imagine losing a parent. My sincere condolences to him and his family and to all the Georgia Bulldogs who are affected by this. It's a tough time. I realize that, and I want to be sensitive to that. I also want to rejoice in that you're getting help for 2025 for Gunnar Stockton, right? You've seen Jaden Rashada go into the portal, but you knew that was coming. Ryan Puglisi is the number 2 now, and you expect that Ryan Montgomery will have something to say about being the third-string quarterback going into 2025. Did the season end the way that the Bulldogs wanted to? No. Their loss to Notre Dame has sent me into talking about segments about the dawn of the Big Ten and the end of the SEC. But I also, in that same segment where I'm talking about this, remind folks just where the talent in college football tends to go coming out of high school still, and it is to the SEC. What's changed is that rather than Georgia and Alabama really hoovering up most of the 4- and 5-star recruits in the top 100, you're talking about it being spread more evenly across the rest of the SEC, including Texas, LSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma when they hit, right? Even Auburn will pick up a Cam Coleman. Florida is making real moves. They had DJ Lagway last year. He's going to be their heir apparent, or not heir apparent. He is the starting quarterback at Florida. But now you are absolutely filling a need at secondary and at wide receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's really kind of cool because on the one hand, Zion Branch is not the superstar that his brother Zachariah is, but he is a really great defender and a really great safety. Knowing what you're going to lose on the back end of that defense and knowing what you can expect Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart to do with that defense given some time, it's a really great pickup. I really expect him to contribute in a big way and make his way onto the football field for them in 2025. But the prize here is Zachariah Branch coming from USC. And he is not just one of the most explosive and exciting players in all of college football when he got the ball in his hands. He allows you to return kicks. He allows you to return punts. But most impressively, he can catch the damn football, which has been the bugaboo for the Georgia Bulldogs for the entire season. They lost the game to Notre Dame in large part because the passes Gunnar Stockton was throwing, Dylan Bell, Dominic Lovett, Oscar Delp, who have you, was not catching enough of. Arian Smith. They would make the acrobatic play, and then they would drop the gimme pass. The guys, Dylan had one that should have gone for 6, and that changes the direction of this football game entirely. You could probably have fought your way back into this game just on the passing game alone. We've seen this before, right? We saw Georgia go down to Florida with third-string quarterback and basically Carson Beck be able to throw the ball all over the yard to get them in that particular range to where they could win that football game. And it's been feast or famine for the passing game at Georgia. Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, it doesn't seem to matter so much as who's on the end of these passes that can catch them. Now, Zachariah Branch, I think, is going to feature in this offense. Not unlike James Cook used to feature in that offense. You're going to have a guy that can play tailback, who can play in the slot, who can play on the X, who can play at the Y, but you're really going to try to match him up on dudes that are slow so he can cook them, and you're going to try to take the top off the defense. All the ways in which you can create opportunities for him to get the football are going to be found money because you're going to get back guys like Branson Robinson, who I want to stay healthy because now we're talking about a guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy. But if you've ever seen a picture of Branson Robinson, you're going to ask, did this 16-year-old play in the NFL? Because he's not 16. He's only gotten bigger. But when he was 16, he looked like he was ready to go play in the NFL because he's built like that. Now you're adding more speed to a Georgia offense that needs it. You're adding better hands to a Georgia offense that needs it. Did Zachariah have the best season at USC last year? No, not particularly. but that has more to do with the offense and what it was asking Miller Moss to do and later Jaden Mayava to do. But I think the package deal of this is really where I am quite impressed with what Zachariah and Zion were able to put together. Because when I think about those guys, I know there's one that you want, right? Everybody wants the 20-year-old. Everybody wants the guy from Vegas. But the dude that I think was actually steering this and helping it the most is the big brother. So we could talk about Zachariah being, the number 4 overall recruit coming out of the transfer portal, number 2 wide receiver. Number 1 at his position coming out of high school as a 5-star prospect, top 7 nationally. He gives Tyreek Hill vibes. If you've ever seen Tyreek Hill play, and I'm sure that you have, I got a front row seat to that when he was at Oklahoma State, and Bob Stoops just continued to keep punting him the football. But coming out of Bishop Gorman, you knew what it was going to be with that guy. He reminded me a lot of Marvin Mims when talking about returning kicks and returning punts. But a dude that was a first-team, true freshman, All-American in 2023. USA Today All-American, PFF All-American, Sporting News All-American. If you wanted to talk about a guy that was going to absolutely make you pay for kicking him the football, you were talking about Zachariah Branch, who also had 31 catches last year for 320 yards here. But we're talking about a dude that had 16 punts that he returned for 332 yards. He had a kickoff return average of 18.4 yards, and he had a gaudy punt return average of 31, which is, again, just ridiculous. I think when we're talking about a guy also making his debut, you have to remember his first game, he had 4 catches for 58 yards and a TD, 12 rushing yards, and he had a kickoff return for TD against San Jose. Like, he was out in a big way. So losing him is no small thing for USC, and adding him is no small thing for Georgia. Again, I'm talking a lot about the guy that was wearing number 1 at USC because I really do believe that he is that dude. Now, 2024, he actually had a better season than he had in 2023 as a receiver. 47 catches, 503 yards, about 11 yards per catch. But again, the TD numbers were down. You only had 1 passing TD that he caught, receiving TD that he caught. I think that's going to go up. I think that this is a guy that can catch 70, 80 balls if that's what you want to do with the offense. Now, that's not something that Kirby Smart has always wanted to do with the offense, but it is important to note that adding speed on the perimeter is always going to help you in the SEC, going up against some of the best defensive backs in the entire country, let alone the guys that he's going to give fits to in scout team. You're looking for a player on par with Ryan Williams in Alabama, Cam Coleman at Auburn, even Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. You could do a lot worse than a guy like Zachariah Branch, who already makes your receiving core that much better, and that much better than a lot of the receiving cores you're likely to see in the future. Huge pickup, massive win for the Georgia Bulldogs, who have said, okay, so we lost the SEC We lost the SEC championship in 2023. We won it in 2024. We got bounced by a good Notre Dame team in 2024. Well, in 2025, excuse me. We'll be back in 2025. We'll see what everything's about when they start to play some football here a little bit later on. But huge pickup at a time when I think Georgia fans really needed a win.